So in mid-February, I finally told my boss that I was going to retire. And after so many years of working, the last 20 in the same office, I realized I had grown complacent. I was used to having that magic number appear in my checking account every 2 weeks, and retirement was going to mean no more paychecks. So what was I going to do? And so I ended up deciding to do what, of course, everybody would do, and that is I talked to Social Security. And I was a little nervous about doing this because, I mean, you could get swallowed up in this huge bureaucracy. I mean, it's the federal government personified, the biggest monolith on the planet. But I had called up this biggest monolith on the planet, and I actually talked to a real person. And this person set me up with an appointment, which was going to be weeks in the future, long after the paychecks would have evaporated. And then they said, well, this may not be exactly what you want. You could talk to your local office if you want, just go there. And I said, well, sure, that's what I want. And so that's what I did. I walked into my local office, took a number, sat down in a chair right underneath a large portrait of our beloved POTUS. And there was an armed guard in the corner standing there. And then my number was called, and I got to go in and sit across the desk from a person one-on-one, and she straightened it all out. I was going to get direct deposit. I was going to get my food and my shelter all taken care of. I mean, I was so excited about Social Security. That's great. I mean, anybody out there who works for Social Security, after this is all over, you call me up, I'll take you out to lunch. I went home filled with hope. And to celebrate, I bought myself one of those expensive microcurrent machines, you know, the kind that's supposed to help with your wrinkles. Well, that was better, but there was still this, what am I gonna do with the rest of my life? I had this horrible fear that I was gonna sit staring out the window, watching the air move. I mean, maybe I would have obsessively scrubbed the grout between the bathroom tiles. And then there was this virus talk, something on the West Coast. We'd heard that kind of thing before. Nobody else seemed worried about it. Why should I worry about that? I have an important life thing going on. I'm going to retire. And then the big day came, and I retire. I'm out. No more paychecks. And I realized suddenly, wait, everybody's out. Everybody's sitting at home. Everybody's staring out the window, wondering if that unfamiliar guy out there is maybe from Westchester up here, contaminating my air. And instead of obsessively scrubbing the grout, I'm obsessively washing my hands. And now I have plenty of time to go out and search for toilet paper. I mean, in a way, the focus of this pandemic was the best thing that ever happened to my retirement. But of course, my euphoria was sort of playing peekaboo with my losses. I mean, can't go out and talk with a friend one-on-one. Can't go out with the girls, have a drink, have a laugh. And you know, I think the air would move in and out of my lungs so much better if I could just have a hug. I wish somebody, somewhere, somehow, for all of us could just make it better. Huh? Well, my name is Siri. If you believe this is my story, you could, if you have it, And if you don't worry about it. Donate $5 to the Regional Food Bank of Northeastern New York. Thank you.
So back in mid-February, I decided it was finally time to tell my boss I was retiring. I had been at the company for, I guess, 12 years, and I was feeling very stale, very complacent. I'm not a person who likes that. I got to have something fresh. So, but I will say that the thing I did like about the job was getting that paycheck show up in my account every 2 weeks. And I'm kind of thinking like, okay, well, that's not going to continue after I retire. What am I going to do then? That. And then I realized I was going to do what everybody does, right? I was going to apply for Social Security. Fine. But, you know, when that seemed extremely like it was going to be a huge hassle. I thought of it as like the biggest bureaucracy in the entire universe, and that this was going to be just a nightmare to do. But I, bit the bullet and called up and got a human being on the phone. But she said that I could have an appointment to come, to get this set up like in 3 weeks, and my paychecks were going to stop way before before this appointment was going to happen. What was I going to do? And she said, you have a choice here. You could just walk into your local Social Security office. And I said, whoa, that's for me. So I went down there and I took a number, and I sat down in a chair, and the only painful thing about it was having to sit under this giant picture of POTUS. And then there was also the armed guard over in the corner, but it wasn't really that painful. And my number got called. I'd go in, we, do this interview. I get all set up, and I am so excited. I'm going to have direct deposit. It's going to cover my rent and my groceries, and everything is going to be wonderful. And I was really excited about how that this was kind of going to work. In fact, it was such a good experience that if there is anybody out there in the audience who works for Social Security, I will buy you a beer. Okay, when all this is over. I got home, I was so excited, I went out and bought myself an Instant Pot to celebrate. But then I started to think, well, whoa, what am I going to do with my life now? And I kind of imagined I was going to get in this rut where all I did was sit on the back porch and watch the robins playing. And maybe I would begin obsessively cleaning the bathrooms in my house now that I was retired, But there was something happening in the world, which was the whisperings about this virus, and they were talking about it on the West Coast and in New York. And, I didn't really think it had anything much to do with me. I wasn't very concerned about it. But, I wanted to focus on my retirement. I didn't want to think about this. The big day came, I retired, and I realized that I wasn't the only one who was home on a work day. Everyone was home on a work day. It was like we had all retired at once. And instead of, thinking I was going to obsessively clean my bathroom, I was obsessively washing my hands and worrying about whether the guy who was visiting next door was from one of the virus hotspots and was contaminating my neighborhood air. So, here I am. The euphoria is just kind of worn off a bit, and is playing hide and seek a bit with my sense of what's been lost. And I kind of miss the chance to meet with my friends face to face and just go out and have a glass of wine and a laugh. And I will tell you that real hugs, not virtual hugs, would make the air in my lungs flow a whole lot easier. Would somebody please make this better? I'm Dina. If you think that's my story, please donate $5 to Northeast Organic Farmers of Vermont. Thank you.
In mid-February, I finally got around to telling my boss that I was going to retire. And after 27 years of working for the big state of New York, I'd gotten complacent. I'd gotten used to having that magic number show up in my checking account every 2 weeks. And it was a pretty nice deal. But retirement means no more paychecks. So what was I going to do? So what I ended up deciding I had to do, of course, what else are you going to do, is go talk to Social Security. The biggest monolith on the planet, the huge bureaucracy, federal government personified. So I called them up and I actually talked to a person, and this person said, you set up an appointment weeks in advance, long after all the paychecks had evaporated. And then this person said, by the way, this may not be what you want. You can just walk into the local office if you want. I said, well, yeah, that is what I want. So that's what I did. I walked into the local office. I took a number. I sat there underneath this huge portrait of POTUS with an armed guard in the corner. But I got my number called. I got to go in and I got to talk to a person across the desk, one-on-one. And they've straightened it all out. I got direct deposit. I was going to have my food and shelter taken care of. I am so excited about Social Security. I'll buy anyone in the audience a beer who works for Social Security. I went home filled with hope, and I bought a bouquet of flowers for myself. But what else was I going to do? I had this horrible fear that I would just sit there in my living room, staring out the window, watching the air move. I would obsessively vacuum. But there was this virus. There was this talk about something on the West Coast. We've all heard this before. What's the big deal? Nobody else is worried about it. Why should I be worried about it? I have a lot more important things to do with my life. I had this retirement. But then the big day comes and I retire. I'm out. No more paychecks. And suddenly I realize everybody's out. Everybody's staying home. Everybody took pity on me. Suddenly, here I am, staring out the window, just like everybody else, wondering if that guy in the street is from downstate, contaminating my air. And instead of obsessively vacuuming on the floor, I'm obsessively washing my hands. And I have plenty of time to look for toilet paper. What more could you ask for? It's great. The pandemic was the best thing that ever happened to my retirement. But my euphoria is playing peekaboo with my losses. I no longer have friends that I can talk to. I cannot go down and have a beer and share a laugh. A hug would make the air move in and out of my lungs so much better. Please find something to make it better. Thank you very much. If you like this story, please donate $5. Oh, my name is David Bain. If you like this story, please donate $5 to Hubbard Hall Center for the Arts, Cambridge, New York. Thank you.